Well, this is a controversial hot topic. We are talking about Kamala Harris after she was recently nominated to step in place of Joe Biden. We got a few guests on this one. Let me know what you think of Kamala Harris in the comments. Does she stand a chance? Is she the Democrat of all Democrats? Will she beat Trump? Let me know. Watch and or listen while we tackle tough and sometimes taboo topics filmed live over drinks. This platform allows us to articulate our thoughts and challenge our beliefs. This is SipTalk. Grab a drink and enjoy. All right, that is a long pour. Welcome to SipTalk Podcast, episode 253. My name is Justin DiGiulio, joined by James, the Boswell, Boswell, philosopher, philanthropist, philanderer, phlebotomist, philatelist, man of many PHs. James, how's it hanging down there in sunny South Carolina?
Not so sunny right now, both because it's dark and also like big thunderstorm rolling through.
A lot of the times at nighttime it is not so sunny. I read that somewhere, Popular Mechanics or Scientific American or something.
Yeah, and Congress in their irresponsible ways are extending daylight savings times hours, which is not helping global warming at all.
So let me ask you a question. If they just eliminate daylight savings, do you think that will have any effect on global warming?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have an extra hour of sunlight all year round.
Well, I mean, my argument would be the sun was kind of shining on the earth, regardless of what time we thought it was. So
that was a real letter to the editor written into like some Alabama newspaper.
I'm not surprised in Alabama. So I got to ask you, this is Sip Talk. What are you drinking?
I'm starting off with a PBR.
Very nice. I thought you got priced out.
Yeah, but when somebody else buys it for me.
Oh, very nice. Well, I gotta let you know I am drinking the Corona Premier, which is kind of the low end of the Corona spectrum.
There's a low end?
Well, yeah, the low end leads with Premier. So Premier is actually the low calorie, the Michelob Ultra of the Corona lineup.
Oh, I thought all Corona was low end.
So we got a cool podcast tonight. What we are talking about, and we have not really talked about politics for the last, 5-6 months.
We've touched on it here and there for like a couple minutes at a time in the cast, but we haven't dedicated a whole episode to it.
4 or 5 episodes ago, we got like a little into Trump. We have not talked much about Biden. And as of earlier this week, Biden is out.
Yeah.
And we would have thought Biden would step out and a great Democrat would step up. In actuality, Biden just kind of bowed down and is next in line, which nobody knows anything about or has any faith in. Kamala Harris has stepped up. Now, the ultra-liberals know quite a bit about Kamala Harris and have a lot of faith in her. The rest of the liberals, the rest of the Democrats, don't know that much and probably have limited faith in this vice president to run the nation. The rest of the country, 51% arguably, or 49% arguably, of the Republicans hate Kamala Harris. So tonight, we're having a conversation about Kamala Harris. Now, I would say I'm left-leaning and inclined to understand what's going on in the news. So I would say that gives me an upper hand on 70% of the country. So I would argue that what I know about Kamala Harris is more than most, and that my perceptions are kind of in line with those who know about Kamala Harris. So I'm going to be drawing some generalizations tonight based off what I've seen on Twitter and Instagram, and assume that I am speaking for 60 to 70% of the nation. Does that sound fair to you, James?
We'll see how this goes.
So,
I will say real quick, you mentioned that a lot of that there was not a huge base of fans for Kamala Harris a week ago. And I was one of them.
Nobody thought much about Kamala Harris.
The people that were not convinced that Kamala Harris was necessarily the best idea for the Democrats to run. Just even a week ago, I had a long conversation with my friend Sam about how I thought that if Biden stepped down, the DNC should have an open convention where they considered a variety of different candidates and voted on them at the DNC, with Kamala being one of them to be considered. And
Not the shoe in. Also, by
Not
the
the
way,
shoe in.
I want to announce that if you're watching on TikTok or you're watching on Instagram or you're just watching us live, that if you go to my Instagram profile, Justin DiGiulio at Justin DiGiulio, there's a link in my bio, and what you can do is click that link. It's going to open in Safari, or if you're using a desktop or laptop computer, it'll open up, and then you can join us if you want to share your opinion. We gotta constantly remind ourselves to remind you guys that if you want to join us and share your opinion on Kamala Harris, on former President Trump, click the link in my Instagram bio at Justin DiGiulio, and you can jump in here and you can share your opinion.
All right, so yeah, as of a week ago, I was not at all convinced that Kamala Harris should be the nominee, and I definitely didn't think that she should just default to the person they pick. And I had a long conversation with Sam about this.
This is Sam Samantha.
Yes.
All right, cool.
And then on Sunday, Biden dropped out, and Biden endorsed Harris and said, "That's who I want you guys to pick." And Harris,
Do you think it's because he probably didn't remember the names of many people around him? He just heard it, her face looked familiar.
I don't think that's fair to say.
It was a dementia joke. Go ahead.
I know, but and Harris immediately said, "I look forward to earning your nomination and winning over your support." So the first thing she said, I immediately liked, which is that she did not assume that she was just going to get it. That's the message that I got from her. Was like,
I got the message that she assumed it was hers.
you see, I didn't, because she said, "I look forward to winning over your support."
I think she assumed that was hers to have. The fact that she said that to me was like it was a no brainer. Like I look forward to what's about to happen. Is the way that I interpreted that. Like there's nothing else is going. We know what's going to happen. I look forward to it.
I guess I
like it's
I
like
took
Thanksgiving morning at like 11:30 in the morning. The turkey's already in the oven, and you say, "I look forward to turkey dinner." You're like, you already know what's happening. You are looking forward to it. Turkey's in the oven.
It's impossible for me to say which one of us is right here, because I think that
You
both
and I
of
have
us
different.
I think both of us have biases here that are drawing us to different conclusions. But I'm
Well,
just telling
let me
you,
ask you this:
as someone
a
that
week
wasn't
ago,
convinced of her before, I liked what I heard there.
so a week, yeah, fair enough. So a week ago, when you were talking about Biden and Harris, what were your thoughts on Kamala Harris?
My main concerns with her were that in a lot of media appearances that I had seen, she came off as awkward, stilted, and her delivery kind of felt forced. It was kind of like the please clap kind of thing, where it's just like like the mandatory fun, and like I didn't feel like she was being genuine, where she was trying to come off as like somewhat funny and carefree, but it just completely fell flat. Her 2019 and 2020 campaign for like in the primaries to win the Dem nomination for the 2020 election was run really poorly. It was not organized well. They didn't do good on the fundraising side, but their organization and their strategy was poor. And so I looked at that and said, the only reference that we have for her ability to run a national campaign was that primary, and it was bad. And
But also the nation does not know much. As far as from my perception, the nation's perspective on Kamala Harris is kind of like a 1D character. They know very little about her. They don't. Most people don't know whether she's black or Indian, and
it's both.
Well, it is both, yeah. But it's what she identified. So we want to hear what a lot of the nation wants to hear is, who are you? Who do you think you are? What do you identify as? What are your roots? What do you represent? What is your position on healthcare? What is your position on gender affirmation? What is your position on healthcare? What is your position on abortion? What is your position on
Well, we'll get into that.
arms? And we're going to get into that. But I'm kind of throwing these out as teasers. Is that the nation really does not know when you're vice president? Like, nobody knows shit about you, really.
Yeah.
The issue is that Joe Biden was so bland. Is that like Kamala Harris actually?
Can I finish my thought? Because you asked me the question of like, what did I think of Kamala Harris before she became the presumptive nominee, which she effectively is at this point. And I thought that there were some dangers about her ability to run a national campaign. I thought that she could be awkward, and I wasn't sure how genuine she was. And I thought that her record as a prosecutor in California could be potentially problematic because there's if someone's able to dig up a case that she prosecuted where somebody that was innocent ended up getting sentenced, that could hurt her too. Um, and so I had some serious reservations about her. And then I've been following this really closely over the last, it's only been 4 days.
It seems like a lot of shit has happened really fucking fast.
Yeah. But first of all, I thought that the way that she gave, I sent you a link to a speech that she gave on Monday or Tuesday, her first real true campaign speech. And I actually liked it a lot. She
Why did
kept
you
it.
like it?
I liked it because one, she started off by talking about Trump and why she doesn't like Trump and why America shouldn't like Trump. But she didn't make that the focus of her speech.
Just for the record, even the people that like Trump know why they shouldn't like him.
Anyways, she didn't make that the focus of her speech. She spent maybe 1/3 of her time or less on the things that Trump and the Republicans are trying to do and all the character flaws that Trump has. The rest of her speech was talking about the things that she wanted to do, and she kept it short. It was maybe like a 15-minute speech or so, and she touched on all the issues that are important, and she seemed genuinely comfortable on the stage talking to these people. She seemed happy to be there, and she seemed to feed off of the energy that she was getting instead of being a drag. And when I saw that speech, I said, the Democrats might have some real energy here that was profoundly lacking a week
Here's
ago.
the thing: is when your quarterback drops out, you got like a couple of linebackers, a couple of wide receivers that are like top runners, but like to me, she was kind of water boy energy.
Maybe, but I think it's on her to prove that she is capable of winning the election and convincing people to vote. And so far, for when I've seen her from her, I I, I see good things. And like I think I want to talk about Biden's decision to drop out real quick.
All right, yeah, I'm all for having that conversation.
Because I think that the way it was done was pretty masterful.
So
And
hold up. So you get the biggest conversation right now is Donald Trump running for president in 2024.
yep,
The majority of the conversation about politics in 2024 are about Donald Trump running. The majority of the conversation is not about Biden. Now, I would say there's a 25 to 35% of the conversation about politics right now happening about how Biden is not a contender. He can't string together sentences. The debate, which I did not see, by the way, I was filming a reality TV show during that week. I didn't have the opportunity to see it. I watched a couple of clips. Most of the clips that I saw were him not stringing together sentences that were linear. They did not make
yeah.
any sense.
So I
So
watched some of the debate live, and it was painful. And
it was painful. Why? Because Biden didn't make sense, or because
because
Trump?
I wanted Biden to do a good job, and he didn't.
No shit.
And so, anyways,
So he
I
did a
think
very. So he hold on. Let's kind of move forward here. So he did a really bad job. He didn't make much sense. Trump didn't necessarily clobber him, but
no,
but
but Trump
Biden
was
didn't
Trump was
win.
able to make coherent points, given most of what he was saying was lies. But he put together sentences and presented better than Biden. I can't
Exactly.
deny that.
Exactly. So there was no clear winner if you were kind of grading for everything. Like Trump won the arguments, but his facts were wrong, right? So
Yeah, and Biden didn't look composed. He looked out of it. He looked old. He looked confused. He looked
and
tired, and
and
that's not
he
what you
is
want.
old and he
And
is tired. And I liked
well, and
Biden when
also
he was
going into that debate, what was the number one criticism of Biden?
that he was his brain did not
Right.
function.
The biggest criticism, the biggest thing that Biden had to fight off was criticism of him being old. And what did he do in that debate? He looked old.
Demonstrated that he was old.
And
Demonstrated that he
so,
looked like he had dementia. Yeah.
yeah.
And so
So, anyways, I think that the timing of Biden stepping out was perfect, which is right after the RNC, where the Republicans spend 4 or 5 days talking about Biden and all this other stuff. They get all the attention, and then while they should be riding the high from having their pep rally in Milwaukee, a day or two later, Biden drops out. So now all of their attacks are no longer guided at the right target. And also, Biden can now claim that he's doing what is best for the country by allowing somebody else to take over after his term ends. So he gets this high ground of saying, I put the country ahead of myself. Do you think that the other person will do that? Because do you think that Trump, like, one of the things I've seen is like Trump is so confused by Biden's move because he could never conceive of like putting something ahead of himself, right?
Sure, but I mean, Trump is not. I don't know. Trump is he's just kind of very super egotistical. He's not a real political candidate. He's just. It's like watching the WWF or the WWE as they call it now. But I still can't believe that Biden dropped out and left the mess that he left.
I don't think he left a mess
I
because
do, because here's you. So you're way more liberal than I am, and what you are missing is the perception of Kamala Harris from the centrists and the right wing people.
you're not going to win over the right wing people, so you don't try.
But here's the issue: is that Biden long lost the centrists a while ago.
I don't know if
And
that's the case.
I'm telling you, it is. So the centrists are saying, so we don't like Biden. We also hate Trump. But life, gas prices, interest rates, home prices, wages were higher under Trump. Now,
Some of that is true, some of that isn't, and some of that is
no, hold
not
up,
because of anything Trump did.
hold up. No, pause. All of it is true.
No,
Housing prices, no, listen to me. Housing prices were lower. Interest rates were lower. Gas prices were lower. Now, was it because of Trump, or was it because of Obama? So the argument is that each
the wages
four-year
one you said, the
presidency,
wages one is not
each,
it very much depends on measurement. Housing prices were definitely lower under Trump, interest rates were lower under Trump, and gas prices varied.
okay, but the argument is that during each presidency, what's happening during the first 4 years is what was set up from the previous 4 years,
Yes.
Or in Trump's case, 8 years.
Well, so when it comes to the economy and interest rates, that's absolutely the case where economic policy has a lag in terms of what you do to the economy. The measurable effects of that choice sometimes don't materialize for like 1 to 5 years, and so the
Well,
inflation
that's
that
global economics.
hmm?
That's global economics. By the way, if anybody's interested in joining us and sharing your opinion, you got to click on the link in my Instagram bio while we are live. Sorry, go ahead, James.
So the inflation that Biden dealt with during the first 2 or 3 years of his term, that was set into motion in 2020 while Trump was president. And
Sending checks to everybody, sending these pandemic payments to everybody, giving basically free money to everybody, which
yeah,
obviously
so
leads to fucking inflation.
so some of it was under the control of the federal government in Trump and in Congress in terms of like the various COVID relief packages. That's part of what caused the inflation. The other part of it is something that the president has much less control over, and that's the behavior of the Federal Reserve in terms
Well,
of the
that's
Federal Reserve setting interest rates and determining monetary supply. The president doesn't get to control the Federal Reserve. They're basically independent. And so, like, in terms of when interest rates should have been raised and by how much, the Federal Reserve was probably too slow in the beginning to handle it, which caused inflation to get worse. And the other thing is, if you compare the United States inflation rate from any point in the last 4 years to other industrialized countries, and I'm going to talk about like Canada, France, Spain, Australia, New Zealand, like other first world countries, right? Our inflation numbers were lower than any of them. So everybody in the world was dealing with inflation. The United States was as well, but we actually did better on inflation than pretty much any other country. It's just that everybody was suffering. And so you can ask how much of inflation was Biden's fault and how much of it was Trump's fault, Biden ended up inheriting some of it. So I don't know if you can really it's
Well,
easy to
I
blame Biden
I
because
think
he
the
was in
point that you're
office when it
making, and
happened.
this is a little kind of longer explained than need be, but inflation rates because via interest rates are not the president's fault. The president doesn't have any control over interest rates.
A little bit.
Well, I mean, he has influence, but he doesn't have any control. He has
Okay, yeah.
influence, but not control.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, I'd agree.
we have a few people that are trying, by the way, trying to jump into the podcast.
Eddie wants us to talk about the borders, and we'll get there. But immigration is on the list.
Well, immigration is. We have a lot of stuff we want to talk about. We have a lot of stuff we want to talk about tonight on this cast. We may end up going a little over an hour, but we're really going to try really hard to keep this podcast to 60 minutes. However, if you guys, and thanks Eddie. Eddie's a former DiGiulio Group real estate agent, by the way. And I think Eddie lives. I think he lives in Florida now. But either way, he's a Trump fan, and I know Eddie's from New York, so. Whether he lives in Florida or he lives in New York, I'd really love him to jump on. And if you want to jump on, you got to go to Instagram. You got to click the link in my bio, and you'll be able to pop on here. We'll put you in the waiting room, and we're ready to bring you on. We will authorize you. You can share your opinion. What's our next step here in this conversation? Oh, we got a
real quick. I just want to say, overall, I think that Biden's choice to step down was the right one. And it affords the Democrats an opportunity to completely recast this election. And Kamala Harris is going to basically have a chance to more or less start fresh and build her political brand from the ground up. And if she's smart, what she'll be able to do is find ways of taking credit for some of the successes of the Biden administration while simultaneously being able to distance herself from some of the failings.
So we're going to bring Yuri on right now. Yuri's got some opinions on Kamala Harris. Here's the issue, though. Is I know you were saying Kamala's going to start fresh. The issue is that most of what the public knows about Kamala right now, and Yuri and I had this conversation briefly today, is the memes and the small segments of her speeches that are kind of she doesn't make any sense the majority of the time she speaks. And I will say, and I'll bring Yuri on to kind of combat me on this. The biggest one is, so you're the border czar. Have you been to the border? Well, we've been to the border. Okay, have you been to the border?
Yeah, that was a bad moment.
We've been to the border. Okay, so did you yourself go to the border? Well, no, I didn't go to the border, but I also haven't been to Europe. Okay, so you've never been to the border? No, I haven't been to the border. Okay, so you're the border czar? Okay, so if your main role is the border czar, you haven't been to the border, what are you doing? And that's one of many. So most of the sound clips that we have heard, and I'm not somebody who follows Kamala Harris. I don't follow politics. I'm not left wing or right wing. I just go to fucking Instagram. I watch a bunch of people cooking steaks. I see some people in bikinis, and then I just get exposed to kind of your regular bullshit memes that kind of troll the internet. And what I have seen has been very negative on Kamala.
Right, and so my argument is that she has a chance to shed that skin.
Now she has that chance. So that's what we'd like to see happen. I'm going to turn on Yuri. Yuri looks like he's ready. He's got some headphones on, and his hat's off. Oh, his hat's back. Back's off.
Yeah.
Yuri.
Hey, guys.
SipTalk podcast. Are you drinking?
No, I'm not drinking.
Right,
I just got
we had to kick him off. He doesn't have a drink. I'm just welcome back. I'm just fucking with you. It is SipTalk podcast. So Yuri, would you like to continue the conversation, or maybe kind of reintroduce and share some of the talking points that we had this afternoon?
Well, I mean, you mentioned the whole how Kamala Harris did not make sense on a few occasions, and
on all the occasions that I have heard her speak.
But that's cherry picking.
Exactly.
I'm not the one picking the cherries. I'm just the one going to the grocery store. These are the cherries delivered.
And I feel like those type of narratives don't hold any weight, because they are you don't have the full concept. You don't have the full picture here, and you just pick little tidbits of things, and then you just run with it, and they make it go viral, which to me does not make any sense. This is a highly educated woman, She's not a businesswoman that only knows numbers. She was a former
She's an attorney.
prosecutor.
So let's
She's an
talk about
attorney.
Kamala's background. Let's
Right.
talk about Kamala's background. Her background is in law, and she was a prosecutor.
Right.
And she put many people behind bars. And something particularly interesting about Kamala's history is she's put a lot of people away for drug charges. Now, she is Indian. She's got Indian background and black background. And the majority of people she put away for drug charges were black and brown people. Now, when she went on, I forgot which radio show it was, when she went on the radio show and she was laughing about how she smoked weed back in 1994 and 1996, it was a very hypocritical look for her when she spent the last 15 years in her career putting people away for crack and marijuana. As a black/brown woman.
Okay, so first thing, Kamala Harris identifies as a black woman, whether she's mixed. You know what I mean? She identifies
I think,
as a
yeah.
black woman.
I think
All
here, hang on, because I just want to.
What's the question that you're asking, Yuri, here?
Right, that part.
The question I'm asking Yuri.
Yeah, what are you asking him to respond to?
Well, what I'm saying is that we're talking about the sound bites that Kamala has. Right, we're talking about some of the things that she said and how our country is going to get how. And I'm going to put myself in the liberal camp. I'm going to put myself as a liberal guy. How are we going to defend against these issues? How are we going to say Kamala Harris is for the black and brown and minority community when we have record of her saying, yeah, I smoked weed in college. Also, I put away 506 people for smoking weed.
So this is my question to you. I'm kind of like going to answer question with a question. Weren't these things that were illegal back then? Whoever she put behind bars, weren't they something illegal they were doing that has to be addressed, by laws or not?
Well, here I think is probably, and I'm not going to blame Kamala on this, but I'm going to blame our legal system. Is that when you are a prosecutor, when you're a DA, your only job isn't to decide if that person is innocent, is to only prosecute. And she is a victim of kind of being brought up professionally through that system. And for her to do a good job, she has to prosecute and put more people behind bars. And unfortunately, during the time that she was doing that, we just got fucking blocked from TikTok, probably because we said crack and cocaine or marijuana or something.
You know what? It wouldn't be a SipTalk episode if we didn't get banned from TikTok halfway through. So we're right on track.
But my concern is that is one, she says dumb shit, and then two, she actually has her career prior to politics is as a prosecutor, and she prosecuted a lot of black, brown, and minorities over.
And this is the thing. Where are you getting these?
Hold on. Can I give the proper campaign response to your accusation here?
I'm curious what it is. I'm presenting it because I want to know what the. Again, I'm saying I'm on the liberal end.
I'll answer this question because it's actually a pretty easy one, which is, I was elected by the people of the state of California to prosecute crimes. I prosecuted any matter that was referred to my office. I had a professional duty to prosecute, and I did my job. Now, as the leader of this country and the person who is in charge of setting direction for policy, I think that they're.
She's not the leader of our country. She's a potential leader of our country.
This is the campaign speech. As the leader of this country, it will be my job to set policy direction, and I think that there are significant issues in the criminal justice system that lead to injustice to certain groups more than others, and that there are certain laws that we have, especially when it comes to the treatment of marijuana, that should be looked at and have sentencing guidelines either reduced or potentially have marijuana legalized fully, as the science and the justification for continuing to have it illegal no longer makes sense. You say something like that, you're good.
Absolutely.
Which is, I mean, Urena, you and I talk about this all the time, is sales, right? It's like there's doubt in you, and I keep raising the doubt because there's a lot of doubt. You and I
What's wrong
talk
with
about
my answer?
nothing. That your answer is a great answer. Your answer addressed all of the issues that I'm raising the doubt for. But I think we need to kind of raise these issues so that we're kind of prompting the conversation about the doubt.
But
And
Right.
Justin,
I have a
I
I'm
lot of
not a
do have
Democrat strategist, but I was able to come up with that answer on the fly with no prompting. You're telling me that people in her campaign can't come up with a similar response that will allay a lot of people's
but
concerns?
but here's what's happening is they're not being prompted to come up with these responses.
It's been 4
The
days. They haven't had a chance to do shit yet.
Yeah, but shit's happening fast. Shit's happening
Right.
fast. The election is only a couple of months away, a few months away. And what can happen is some really dumb shit that she said 6 months ago or 6 years ago will become. I mean, grab him by the pussy is like the fucking one thing that Trump has
Oh,
really going
that's the
against
only
him.
dumb thing he said.
one.
That's the only dumb thing he
That is
said.
one of the dumber things that continues to have traction.
The man had an otherwise sterling record.
How is it 9 years after that happened, and that's the number one thing that I go for, right? So
It's not for
Kamala,
me. I
what's
would
going to
go
happen
for
is the Kamala phrasing about, yeah, we've been to the border, we've been to the border. No, I haven't been to the border, but I haven't been to Europe. That's so. Here's the thing, and Yuri, you and I talked about this earlier, is that dumb shit that Kamala says versus dumb shit that Trump says. So the problem is everybody who supports Trump is totally okay with the dumb shit that he says. The issue is the people that Kamala needs to support her are not entirely okay with it because they hate dumb shit being said. Either way, Yuri, I want to give you the opportunity to kind of share a couple of points.
And
I
and
know you've been meaning to make them.
and again, what you just raised to me, it's exactly the issue. It's the fact that whatever Trump said, um, his supporters will just back him up regardless, right? It doesn't matter because it's to them, it's all about Trump. It's all about nationalists. It's all about that, very extreme hardcore for Trumpers, right? They call it, that's why they call them Trumpers, right? But as opposed to in Kamala Harris, a Democrat vice president, I think the thing is that might not be the best choice, but is the only choice that can actually help us not go in a certain direction that we do not need to be.
Let me ask you this. Hold on. Who's us?
Democrats.
Democrats.
Only Democrats.
Well, Democrats and also some liberals and also even some Republicans.
Let me ask you this. What is that direction that Kamala is going to prevent us from going in?
I think a lot of the policies that she is supporting, she is backing up, are some that will actually help us progress. As opposed to if we go to the other party, a lot of things that they're pushing are things that actually degrading, humiliating, and also moves us backward in time. For example, the whole laws on women, abortion, things like that. These are very sensitive issues. Whether a woman can be a hardcore Republican, that alone is an issue if you're gonna have control. I saw this clip.
Wait. Let me add a little bit on this in terms of the things that voting Democrat will help prevent here. That and this is something that you're going to see more in the messaging in the next couple of months. Is one, women's reproductive freedom. Two, is going to be an active stance fighting climate change. And three is just a rejection of Christianity becoming a state-sponsored religion, where allowing religious freedom is one thing, favoring a religion is another. And I think a lot of Americans don't want to see overt Christian policies passed into law, even though they are fine with people practicing their religion. They do not want religion in government. And Trump's courting of Christian nationalism is overt.
James, 100%. I'm with you. And I think that's the direction. And it kind of like we have to get the lesser best, but you have to kind of like go with the one that's the best choice. And right now, logically, it is the best choice. And that's again,
and also,
that shows us the state of the country where we can only go with These
Well,
two.
you know what? I'm going to throw this one in there too, which is Trump has also explicitly stated that the main reason that he is running for this election is because he is seeking to avoid the criminal prosecutions in the two federal cases against him. And
That part.
the stakes of this election for him are not just winning or losing a political
Immunity.
nomination, it's whether he has to face trial in two huge criminal cases like run by the federal government.
But it
And
also
so
allows him to generate a lot of campaign finance that he can use to fight this that he couldn't if he was not running.
maybe, but that's probably the biggest impetus for him running is the fact that he feels like if he does not win this election, he is likely going to jail.
Well, he also tried to get Hillary to go to jail.
Yeah, the difference is
Oh,
that
but here's the
the
difference.
crimes, you know
Here's the
what,
difference.
the
Is
crimes that they alleged against Hillary did not even rise to the level where they thought they could bring a case. The
well,
prosecutors said there's not enough here, whereas the prosecutors for Trump say there is enough here. And you know what? I would love for Trump to go to trial. And if he is found not guilty at trial, I will accept those results.
here's the issue with Trump continuing to be political. To me, it feels very Icarus-like. Is that he just continues to be boisterous and build himself up and fly towards the sun,
And
and
divisive as well. I mean, I think
here's the issue: is honestly the majority of liberals have this Trump derangement syndrome,
That's
where
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 are you
they
getting that?
think that every word that comes out of Trump's mouth is that he's like, you need to spray bleach up your asshole. He never fucking said that. You got to
What he
do.
said was actually dumber than that.
It was not dumber. It was dumb, but it was not dumber than that. I watched the whole thing live. I watched every minute of Fauci speaking. I watched every minute of the governor of New York,
Cuomo?
speaking. I watched every minute of the mayor of New York City speaking and Fauci. I watched the whole. I had nothing else to do. I sat in my office with the TV on. When Trump said that, I remember laughing on January 6th, being like, "Holy shit, this is a fucking circus of a country that's happening right now. This is wild." And I just remember like taking pictures of my TV, being like, "This is fucking insane." But every minute of every political action that took place, I watched and listened to. And also, I was way more liberal at the time. I would come home and I watch MSNBC and I watch CNN, and I'd hear them tell the story of what I had watched earlier in the day. So when Trump was like, "Is there a way we could like maybe like get bleach into the body or something to like combat these issues?" And then CNN was like, "Yeah, so Trump said you should drink bleach."
No. This
He-
here's
Trump
the
didn't
here's
say-
the here's the
Trump
direct
didn't
quote.
say drink bleach. But
Research department.
and I'll let you share that. I'll let you say the exact quote in just a second. But what I'm saying is that I don't have this Trump derangement syndrome. Okay, what I look at is that Trump is probably not the greatest evil, the Star Wars version of that redheaded guy with the kind of double-edged lightsaber. He's not Darth Vader. He's just kind of an idiot that people seem to like for whatever reason, and he says dumb shit, and still somehow people like him.
and you don't think that's dangerous?
My
Yeah,
issue
he's
with
a
Trump,
danger. That's the
danger
problem.
is that he says dumb things. Number one, that could potentially end us in a third world war, and that's one. And then two is he is, as much as you could like him or dislike him, he is super divisive. So I'm not even so concerned with his politics. I'm concerned with the dumb shit that comes out of his mouth, and I'm concerned with the divisiveness.
And
of
I'm concerned with the
So-
people that are consuming what he's saying.
So here's the issue: is that 20 years ago you could vote for Bush and I could vote for Clinton, or I could vote for Bush and you could vote for Clinton, and I'd still invite you over to the barbecue. Now
It's hatred.
I want Trump and you want Harris, or you want Harris and I want Trump, whatever the situation is, and I will never invite you over again. And I will probably, if you have a sign up, I will spray paint your driveway and slide.
I will block you on Instagram.
But the issue is that, and that's what I'm saying. Trump is not the ultimate evil. He's just an idiot who's charismatic. He's not fucking Hitler. Okay. However,
There's a lot of parallels there, and
there are
you know
parallels,
what?
but he's not Hitler. So the issue is that like Hitler wanted to annihilate the Jews. Trump doesn't want to annihilate anybody. He's just an idiot.
Hitler only came to that idea later in life.
But Justin, I have an issue with what you're saying. And my issue, maybe James might agree with me. is the fact that you are undermining the effect of what he says. And that's what makes him dangerous. Whether he's conscious or not conscious, is that effect that of what he says that is so divisive and that
so if you take middle America and he says some dumb shit, and then you got somebody that wants to pour a gallon of bleach up their asshole, that's fine. But however, I'm not concerned with that person because I literally listened to what he said, and what he said was somebody who like doesn't understand health and science at all, because he's basically got a 7th grade education when it comes to that. And bear in mind, I wouldn't say he's a great business person, but his background is business.
He's not even a good business person.
And somebody who's run a few businesses, like I understand you don't have to be a fucking genius when it comes to business to have a successful business. You just have to be charismatic and X, Y, and Z for the business to build itself. And also, one major thing about running a business is you hire people who are smarter than you. So, like, admittedly,
that's easy for Trump.
You are the least intelligent person. So, yeah, all Trump has to do is hire more intelligent people. The issue is his campaign, his ego, and him saying dumb shit without it being filtered through the people that are smarter than him.
But one thing I'm going to tell you, though,
guys, sorry, Yuri, give me 2 minutes. What I want to introduce right now that we're halfway through the podcast, is the bar trivia question from last week. James, you remember the bar trivia question from last week? You seem to know the answer right away.
But that's usually the case, but I don't remember it.
So, a high-speed electric train is traveling southeast at 90 kilometers an hour. The wind is blowing westward. So, the train's traveling 90 kilometers an hour southeast. The wind is blowing westward at 30 kilometers per hour. In what direction will the smoke from the engine blow?
East at 30 kilometers an hour.
Yuri?
West.
All right, so this high-speed electric train.
Oh, it's an electric train, so no, there's no smoke.
Because
there is no smoke from an electric train engine.
If there was smoke, it would be blowing east at 30 kilometers an hour because the smoke gets blown up, and then the wind is out of the west, so the smoke will travel east.
So that's there is no smoke coming out of this electric engine. Stay tuned for the end of SipTalk episode 253, and we'll introduce another bar trivia question. So,
all right, Yuri, you had some thoughts. Go.
Where was I again? Because that whole
you mentioned that you were putting the bleach in your asshole, and it didn't cure your coronavirus.
You know that asshole would be definitely bleached, right?
Well, I mean, lenses on that asshole. By the way, guys, if you are interested in SipTalk Podcast and following future episodes, visit SipTalkPodcast.com. Buy us a drink, subscribe to our future episodes, and answer the bar trivia question on SipTalkPodcast.com. That's all I got.
So
you can also buy some like SipTalk. We got some.
Oh yeah, you're going to say something, and then you want me to weigh in on your comments afterwards. So maybe that jogs your memory.
So. Oh no, I think we were talking about like how divisive this guy is, and how what he says, and I think that's where Justin is undermining the power of his words, and also giving him a pass for that, as opposed to his. It doesn't matter.
Here's what I want to tell you.
It doesn't matter if he's conscious or not conscious. The fact that what comes out of his mouth is actually, it's crucial. It's. I don't even have the word to kind of like associate with those words, the weight of those words. You
Guys,
know what I mean?
I'm a left-wing person. I'm liberal. All right, I'm consider myself a Democrat. I consider myself more independent these days.
I'm definitely independent. I'm not.
I do not see any inclination to vote for Harris-Biden this year at all. I, however, do see reasons to vote for Trump. However, I wouldn't do that because I hate Trump. I just can find the reasons to vote for him. Now, I disagree with those reasons, but they're presenting themselves. Now,
I'm looking at James.
We have not talked about. We have not talked about J.D. Vance yet. We have not talked about the vice presidential candidate.
No, I didn't put anything on the SipTalk on our docs because I don't particularly care to address him. I think that everything you need to know about J.D. Vance could be summed up in, I believe he ran for Senate in 2020. In that same year, there was also a gubernatorial election in Ohio. and the governor of Ohio, Mike DeWine, won his election in Ohio by about 25 points, right? So that's a pretty big victory for the race to governor. In that same year, in that same election, when DeWine was on the ticket for governor and Vance was on the ticket for Senate, Vance only won his seat by 6 points. That tells you something about his appeal to people. If people are willing to vote 25 points in favor of a Republican governor, but only 6 points in favor of Vance, his unlikables are that high. There's also tons of media of him talking about how noxious Trump is. Like, you can find videos of him quoting, calling Trump America's Hitler. So I don't think we need to talk about Vance.
If you're Trump and so here's just for the record, for the first, I don't know, half a century of American history, the second place candidate became the vice president.
Yeah, it was fixed by a constitutional amendment.
So you ran for president, and your adversary, the person you disagree with, the person you ran against, inherently became your vice president. So
yeah, that was
your enemy.
What's your point here?
My point is that your enemy now is your teammate, which I think
which was a shitty system, which is why they got rid of it.
I think it actually comes with a lot of power. If
No.
Yuri and I are representing our entire real estate team, and Yuri disagrees with me, and now we are a team, Yuri and I are now forced to sit in a room and say we need a solution that is best for all of our people.
But that doesn't actually happen in practice. More often, you have the two people fighting and undercutting, and you just have infighting and lack of action because nobody can agree on a path forward.
I don't think that would happen at a presidential level. Also, it only played out for the first 40 or 60 years of our country.
Okay, but also,
I think
with Vance
now that we are reduced,
Vance has fully imbued himself with the energy and worldview of Trump. So Vance is not an adversary to Trump because Vance is signed on whole cloth to what Trump is espousing.
But
it's
if you have convinced somebody who is against you to join you, you have now brought on every one of his supporters to you.
No, all you've done is convince somebody to abandon all of their previously held principles in the pursuit of power.
Yuri, what are your thoughts on this?
I don't agree with you, man. I agree with what James is saying. I don't think it's a good strategy. And also, if you're gonna be the one that was calling names, and now you accepted to be his running mate. Well, not his running mate, like his his running mate, right? That's what you call it. Yeah, I feel like that shows lack of integrity and loyalty on yourself. So I couldn't respect someone like this because it's kind of like you can't even stand by your own words. Exactly. You can even.
So let me ask you a question: If you represent half the company and I represent half the company, and you are winning, but we're adversaries, and my half hates your half, but if you win, you control everybody. So what happens is you win, but you say, you know what, Justin, you represent all of the people that disagree with me. So what I want to do is I want to get you on board with me, and I want to come to a conclusion that everybody who disagrees with me can agree with some version of what we're doing. So you're talking
about unifying in that sense.
So but I kind of think that's what's happening.
I don't think.
No, you're completely wrong.
Because
that's
Vance
not what's
was
happening.
You are inventing a scenario and then this is square peg in a round hole. You're inventing a scenario to try and justify something that has no basis in reality.
I think that JD Vance was more centrist than Trump.
He was at one point, and then he realized that Trumpism had
over the course of 9 days.
What?
Over the course of 9 days.
Well, maybe, but if you look at JD Vance from 10 years ago and JD Vance from today, they're not the same person. The JD Vance from today,
but his followers from 10 years ago, from 8 years ago,
he didn't have any followers 10 years ago.
But 6 years ago, 3 years ago, and 2 months ago is what I'm getting at.
Right, and the reason why he is now signed up with Trump is not because Trump has won him over by virtue of Trump's good ideas. JD Vance is looking at this as, I accept the VP pick. There's a good chance that Trump doesn't survive all 4 years in office because the man's in terrible health. or gets impeached for some dumb shit that he does when in his office, and now I get to be president. This is, I'm going to abandon my personally held values and swallow the medicine in the hopes that I get to be president by default when Trump leaves office in some way. This is not him agreeing with anything with Trump. It's him pretending to agree with him because he thinks it's his best path forward. And
So he
to
has his own
me,
strategy. It has nothing to do with,
Well, I mean,
you
yeah,
know,
it's self-preservation.
right,
It's
but
definitely self-preservation.
would you abandon all of your principles?
If it was self-preservation,
This is not self-preservation. This is abandoning all your principles in the pursuit of power.
I would not.
Okay, then end of discussion. We're
that
done.
scenario.
That's why we don't.
That
That's why we don't need to
scenario
talk
is
about
not.
JD Vance. It's very simple.
Exactly. I agree.
But the thing is, you have your adversary sign on board with you, sends a big sign to your other adversaries.
No, all it does. Ron DeSantis actually put this really well when he was.
Shit.
Who I can't stand Ron DeSantis, but he made a very good point, which was with Trump, is if you criticize him at all, it doesn't matter if you're doing a great job as governor or senator or anything else. As soon as you criticize him, you're the worst politician in the world. But as soon as you kiss the ring, you're the greatest person on earth. All that is required to be in Trump's good graces is to kiss his ass. And that's what JD Vance has done. And the list of politicians that
But
have
he
done
didn't
that
start
is
doing it.
longer
He
than we
didn't-
have time to go through.
He
You
did
can look
not
at Nikki
start
Haley.
doing it.
I'm going to leave the list with Nikki Haley and Lindsey Graham, two people from my own state. Lindsey Graham said, and I quote, if our party goes with Donald Trump as our nominee, we will get destroyed as a party and we will deserve it. Nikki Haley on the campaign primaries just
I
6
remember
months
that.
ago said that Trump was utterly unqualified for the office. And now she and Lindsey Graham are two of his biggest fans. Why? Because
Power.
that's how they keep power.
That's their only
Power.
option. That's
It's
the
all
only way
about
they're going to
power.
save power.
Guys, I'm gonna leave you guys.
Thank you, Yuri.
I appreciate your position on this.
So my position to sum it, it's pretty much. I think that we have to be smart about who we support because one is far worse and the other one is pretty much that will keep us from going in the wrong direction. It doesn't
I
mean
actually
it's the
think that
best
Harris
choice.
offers possibilities for improvement over Biden in many different ways.
Well, no shit. I think she's way better than Biden. But my concern is her liberal agenda. This is what you and I talked about very briefly earlier, is that I don't fully support the hardcore left liberal agenda.
But you couldn't even. I would love for you to tell me what those things are.
If
Yuri,
you
you
can
want to
tell
say?
you,
I
don't know.
I sent a long text message here earlier.
Yeah, and I want you to define your terms.
Okay, so
Yuri, we can let you go on this since we're gonna.
you're welcome. You're welcome as a New Yorker to stay in. You're welcome.
I'm gonna follow you guys. All right.
Adios.
Later.
Catch you.
James,
Okay,
nice meeting
so
you, man.
So
what is this so-called liberal agenda that you find
listen,
so
I'm in New York.
distasteful?
I'm in New York. Yesterday, I was working in the office, and I had to step over a homeless person into a fight of another homeless person, and then I almost stepped on a hypodermic needle, and that was not cool. So I have a major concern over the way the liberals are dealing with the homelessness, drug addicted, mental health issue population. Now, 7-8 years ago, if somebody was homeless, they didn't have a place to stay, the liberal agenda was we need to get them into shelter. We need to get them into care. We need to get them into mental care. We need to get them into drug care. Now, the liberal edge of that is if somebody wants to live on the street, you can't touch them.
What is your proposed solution here?
My proposed solution is if somebody is doing drugs openly on the street, so I walk by H&M on 34th Street.
No, I want to know what your solution is. I don't want exposition. I want to know what your solution is.
I'm going to give you a slight analogy. So I walk by Herald Square, which is where the biggest Macy's in the world is. There's a lot of big businesses on Herald Square. Now,
I don't need the exposition.
This is kind of a retail mecca.
I don't need the exposition.
However, I have noticed over the last year the increasing number of African men selling fake Louis Vuitton and fake Chanel and fake Michael Kors bags on the street. Now, my thinking is, as a police officer, you just issue them a citation. If they have more than one citation, you just take them in jail. However, it seems like it went from like 2 people a year ago to like 4 people 6 months ago to now, like, I can't even walk down the sidewalks because the congestion of the people walking on the sidewalks is so dense because of the number of purses and bags on the street.
What does this have to do with liberal policy?
Why are the cops not arresting these people for selling things that arguably it's $150,000 fine per instance of copying a purse? I've been to federal court being sued for taking somebody's online pictures.
Right. So my question is, what does this have to do with liberal policy?
So we're not prosecuting these people.
What does that have to do with liberal policy?
Let's relate this back to drug addiction and mental health. So there is a major issue with drug addicted, basically crazy motherfuckers on the street, gouging out their own eyeballs, chasing people down, doing drugs in the street, all fucked up, all high, laying on the street like they are dead.
What does this have to do with liberal policy?
Many times I can't tell if somebody is actually alive or dead because they're just laying in the street.
What does this have to do with liberal policy?
With they look like they have diabetes or crazy ashy dry skin, and you can't actually tell if there's blood pumping through their veins.
Answer the question.
Hear me out. I'm setting the scene. Or if they're actually dead. So the issue is that no one is touching them. The police aren't touching them. The companies come around to say, do you want a sandwich or do you want?
Justin, answer the damn question. What does this have to do with liberal policy?
The new liberal policy is we do not need to drag these people off the street into shelter and into mental health care and into drug treatment. The new liberal policy is if you want to be on the street, we don't touch you. And
where is that policy?
It's just New York City policy. So over the last 4 to 6 years, the number of homeless people, the number of mental health people we have a guest here, have quadrupled, and New York City has no wrangle on the mentally ill, the drug addicted population, and these people are running rampant. So over the last 4 to 6 years, there's 4 times to 10 times the number of people.
What does this have to do with liberal policy?
Is that the liberals are now supporting these people being on the street.
How?
So
prove that. I have never seen any liberal saying that this is okay.
Well, you need to be in New York City. We'll get somebody on. We'll get some.
I've never heard any liberal say it's okay to have people doing drugs openly in the streets. I have never heard
actually,
that once.
so here's the other issue is now places like Seattle and a couple other states, different cities and different states.
California.
In California, but that's they are what they want to do, and we got Amanda Bonino Hastings on the line here. What they're doing is they're saying we want to have safe places for people to do drugs, where there are clean needles and there are safe spaces, which, by the way, is not a bad idea. Here's the issue, is that drug addiction goes in one direction. It doesn't go like, I'm going to do a little heroin today. I'll do a little heroin today. I'll do a little less heroin tomorrow. I'll do a little less heroin the next day, and then I'll be clean. The way that it works is drug addiction goes in one direction, and it goes towards death.
Not necessarily.
Here's the issue, is that if you are providing safe spaces for people to do drugs, you are providing a platform for people to dive deeper and deeper into addiction. The way that it should work is, hey,
no, hold on. I'm going to stop.
Hear me out.
You need to stop right there.
We're providing a clean space for people to do drugs. We're providing clean needles. However, in order to sign up for these locations, in order to come here and do clean drugs and get clean access to needles and get clean needles, is you must enroll in a mental health or a drug advisory or some type of program so that you get a little skin in the game, and then we will give you the place to do these drugs and do this and that. But having a very liberal agenda, and we see it in New York, is that everybody who does drugs should have free access to needles and free placement to do drugs wherever they want. And if somebody wants to do drugs, they can do it wherever they want, and they cannot be arrested. And the police will sit and watch. And I have talked to many cops saying, we can't do anything. And if anything, we arrest them. They'll be on the street tomorrow, and they're not going to pay any fines. And there's a good chance that we will be touching needles, and we will be fucking sued, or we'll be put on reserve, non-payment. for touching these people in a way that they don't feel comfortable with us touching us, and it's legal.
Okay.
Either
So
way,
I've let you have.
we got
Eric
Eric Hastings. We got Eric Hastings on the line.
Well, I'm going
We'd
to
like his
couple
opinion.
things real quick. I want to rebut Justin on this.
Good, because I was going to do that.
All right. So first of all, safe places have been there forever. Look at opium dens back in the day. Okay.
They disappeared for about 40 or 50 years, by the way.
Okay. Now, if you want to have these people out on the street, I'll get a little personal here. Technically, I was a former drug addict myself, but it was for medical reasons I was giving it. They pushed it then. The doctors handed it out like candy.
They did, especially when you were 18, 19 years old and fucking shattered your leg like Mr. Glass.
So I shattered my leg, put it backward, okay? Now I have an ankle replacement, which is basically just a fake ankle. And my other part of my ankle is fused. I'm in pain every day. I don't take anything for it. But I will tell you right now, there should be, in this society, we should be able to do what we want drug-wise, but they have to be responsible, and that's the key.
But
and having a safe environment.
The issue is that the safe environment comes with no caveats.
It does, though, and that's where that's the of the many things that you said that were wrong. That's one of them, which is when you have these harm reduction programs. One of the things, if you have like a storefront that offers people clean needles and a clean space to inject, one, they're monitored during the time that they're there, and if there's any medical events, they have people there that are trained to deal with it, so that way you don't have somebody that's overdosing and dying on the street. You have someone that can get treatment immediately in a place that is out of public view. Second, all of these diversion programs and harm reduction places and safe places to do drugs, all of them are peppered with literature and pamphlets for various government assistant programs and various addiction recovery programs to get people off of the drugs.
I don't know the last time you got really high because you were addicted to shit. The fact that there was a pamphlet sitting in a case on the counter, probably not your primary concern.
He's right. That's no difference with that. People are going to do the drugs. However, if they do the drugs, if I want to see them do it in a cleaner place, because if they're going to do it responsibly. Do it in a safer environment.
The issue is the barrier of entry to be able to enter these places to do the safe drugs right now in Seattle, New York City, in LA, in San Francisco is zero.
Do you understand?
There's no barrier of entry to come in and do these drugs. So you actually take the people that do mental health and drug responsibility, people like Dr. Drew Pinsky, and they're always saying there has to be some type of engagement from the person doing the drugs.
You need a control. And that's what you're missing.
I mean, yeah, but here's the controls. If we have the sample size for the last 8 years, and most of these people are dying, there's only, just for the record, there's only one direction heroin addiction goes. There's only one direction.
What's funny is they don't allow for actual
Let me ask you a
oxycodone.
Somebody doing oxy, somebody doing heroin, somebody doing meth.
You're wrong. They don't allow
oxy. When on their own agenda did they clean themselves up?
I could find hundreds, if not thousands, of accounts of people that were previously addicted to drugs.
You're looking at me.
That said, I need to stop doing this. It is ruining my life. And a number of those people found the help that they needed in some of these clinics because it was the only contact that they had with a world that would be willing to help them. And if you shut down these places, if you don't allow people in, if you don't allow clinics for people to take drugs, then these people are not going to have access to the systems that can help them at all. And you're going to have more people on the streets doing drugs in the open and dying on the streets.
This is kind of the argument along with abortion, which actually I wish we talked way more about tonight, but we didn't get the female conversation involved here. The argument against the anti-abortion laws was all of a sudden people are going to be doing abortions with co-hangers.
I do have a couple thoughts before you pass this topic.
All right, go ahead, Eric. Go ahead.
Look.
Also, Eric, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you holding the phone in your hand?
Yes.
All right, put the phone down, lean it against something, and aim it towards your face. Thank you very much.
All right. So basically, I'm the living embodiment of the drug addict who cleaned himself up. Okay? Mine was a different story, but I still cleaned myself up. So your argument right there, your own best friend, right here, is that living embodiment the big rebuttal against you?
Sure, but also you had things in place to force you to clean up. You also did not have an unlimited supply of $2 heroin packets in the street. And
They were giving me fentanyl at the time. I declined it because it was so bad.
well, also you and your mentality, Eric, you're like a smart guy. So the issue is that I'm talking about the people that are on the streets already in Manhattan that don't have a house, they don't have a home to go to. Also, by the way, reminder: put your phone down, lean it against something, and face it to you.
There, better.
Justin, let me ask you again. What does this have to do with liberal policy? Because
I'll tell you is that I've lived in Manhattan for the last 14 years or so. I have watched, and I mean, listen, I walk through the streets and I see the number of homeless people on the streets. I see the number of people that are doing drugs in the streets, which is actually gone probably like 500%.
Right, but you're not answering my question. What liberal policy has led to this?
I don't
know
exactly what the policy is.
This would be like a topic for debate.
So hear me out.
Answer the question.
I'm trying to answer it. It just requires a little setup. It requires a little setup. So I have noticed since coronavirus, the number of homeless people on the streets has increased. Now it's New York City, so you always had the people like with the little cardboard sign.
You're not answering the question. Answer the question.
I'm building up to it. You always had the people with the cardboard sign saying, "If you can spare $1, spare it to me." Da da da. I'm a vet. Da da da. But what I have seen is that the people using drugs. So now I walk by these people.
You've already talked about this. Answer the question.
What I'm telling you is that I see more people actively doing drugs and injecting drugs into their veins. Okay. And I have noticed it probably 10 to 15 times as much as I did 5 years ago. Now, the issue is that the police don't touch them. The police are trained not to arrest them. And when they have somebody who is high, basically unresponsive on the street, if they get a response from this person and that person says, no, they do not want help, the police, and I've talked to the police officer, I'm like, yo, this guy's fucking retarded. He's drooling on the street. Can't speak.
Can't use that in the new
age. You've already told you. I've already heard this story. What liberal policy is responsible for this?
And the police officer says, he said he doesn't want help. We can't touch him. So I don't know exactly what the policy is.
How is that?
I don't know exactly what the policy is. But 5 years ago, what they would have done is they would have dragged this motherfucker off the street. They would have cleaned up any needles. They would have emptied his pockets for any drugs, and they would have brought him into a care center.
So you just spent 3 minutes saying, I don't know what liberal policy is actually responsible for.
Well, I don't know exactly what it is, but I can tell you 4 or 5 years ago, they would have dragged this motherfucker off the street.
So if you don't know what policy it is,
they would have emptied his pockets from drugs, and they would have put him into a care facility. Now, what do? They say, he said he doesn't want help, so we're going to let him lay in the street.
Okay, so...
Well, you tell me. I can tell you one thing. That's not a Republican policy.
You can't tell me that it's a liberal policy.
Look,
you can't tell me that it's a policy at all.
I can tell you that.
Just tell me that there's something happening. I don't like it, and I'm going to blame the liberals for it. But you have no evidence whatsoever that the liberals are any more responsible for this.
Anybody I know who's Republican says lock them up and fucking throw it.
Okay.
Anybody that's liberal is saying, well, if they said they want to do drugs, you shouldn't.
I'm liberal, and I'm not saying that.
Okay. Can I get in a point here?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. I'm going to tell you what I've noticed in the decriminalized states. Yes, it's killing small businesses itself because they have people injecting on the streets, living in homeless tenements, lined up. I've watched several interviews of these business people, and people don't want to go into their restaurants because people are so strung out. So decriminalization is not the full answer. What I'm looking at is, yes, more safe places if they're going to do that stuff, yes. But there has to be some law and order in the situation. You're just providing a service for these people to not harm themselves worse.
The issue, the sticky part is
the new liberal law explicitly acknowledges the right to sleep outdoors.
Yes.
With some limitations, the right to apply for rental aid. And this is through NPR. So basically, What is the deal with liberal policy on homelessness? The new law gives explicit right for people to sleep outdoors on the sidewalk. If someone wants to sleep outdoors, they may. The unhoused can sleep where they would like. Police can clear sidewalks and streets of anyone who impedes the flow of traffic. However, if someone is not impeding the flow of traffic and they choose to sleep outdoors, they may. That is NPR, and that is on the liberal policy of.
However, you are giving something from both sides' perspective, seeing as I'm the independent. You, since Fox News started, you don't have to do both sides of the coin anymore. You can argue one way and argue the other way.
Here's my point. I don't need to think that we throw each one of these persons into one floor of the Cuckoo's Nest mind camp.
I'm going to grab a drink. I'm going to let Amanda pinch it here.
I don't think we need to drag each one of these people into one floor. James, you familiar with one floor of the Cuckoo's Nest?
Yes, the institutionalization in the 70s led to a lot of problematic stuff.
And here's what happened, Amanda, is that we lost the institutionalization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can thank Reagan for that, the deinstitutionalization.
Exactly. And what did they do? They put those people behind bars in jail.
No, they actually just let them out into the streets.
They let them out in the streets.
Well, no, you had
you
got.
We're both
got
right
two,
on this. You're wrong.
You got two factors here. They let them out on the streets. One, and then two, the people that had drugs during the Reagan administration, they put in jail. Actually, more so, 8 years later. But
well, the drugs in New York, the Rockefeller drug laws are Rockefeller. That's predates Reagan.
Yeah, but my point is that come Bush, those people ended up all of them in jail, and Reagan was kind of the transitional factor. But yes, the criminally insane people left the institutions. The institutions were shut down, and that was arguably the institutions were arguably a good Republican cause, implemented poorly.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, look at Girl Interrupted. Look at One Floor of Cuckoo's Nest. There's movies about One Floor of Cuckoo's Nest. Arguably, is like a kind of normal dude who committed suicide in the end. Girl Interrupted is like a girl that thought about committing suicide and then was like, I'm not actually that crazy. The people in the institution are actually really fucking crazy. I don't think I have their problems, right? And then finally she got out. So, and that was Winona Ryder. Amanda, you are. So we just had Yuri St. Pierre in here. Yuri's a black man and Latino, and he is a pro Kamala Harris voter. You are Russian, you said?
Sure. I don't know what I'm doing with this election. Honestly, I know it's July, but I'm already exhausted. I don't know if I'm going to make it to November.
Which direction are you leaning right now?
Drinking. I'm leaning towards drinking.
That's because you guys are out.
I'm leaning towards drinking until my choices turn better. I don't have a lot of choices right now. I would like to know who Kamala Harris is going to pick for her vice president.
That's a good point.
I find
Let me ask you this.
Important.
Who would you like for her to pick as your vice president?
I don't even know who's eligible.
Practically anybody.
The leader in conversation right now is Pete Buttigieg.
No.
Yes, it is. Yes,
no, he isn't.
That's terrible. So who do you think is?
The current leaders that are being seriously considered are Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, Andy Beshear, the governor of Kentucky. Pete Buttigieg is in the conversation, but he is not very high on the list.
Sean because he's gay. That's
I would say right now the two most likely are either Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania or Mark Kelly of Arizona. Gretchen Whitmer, kind of a third, somewhat distant.
They all feel too ultra-liberal for me.
I feel like Gretchen Whitmer is a bad option for a lot of reasons.
And this is my issue against Trump. I don't hate Trump. I just think he's a really bad president.
How could you not hate Trump? What redeemable qualities does he have?
I mean, I'm not
when he was president, didn't go to World War III.
I just think that we're more likely. Yeah, I just think he's an
He's like a
idiot. I think he's
two-faced-
an idiot. I don't hate him.
As a person, what redeemable qualities does he have?
I
Let me ask you the same
don't want. I
question.
don't want a guy who's quality guy. Biden can be the quality guy he wants.
Biden's not even an
I
option. Look, you catch up.
I'm putting Amanda on mute. Here's my concern. Amanda, stay tuned. No, go away. You just got two of you talking and four dogs.
What redeemable qualities does Trump have?
Let me ask you the same question about Biden.
Biden as a person?
As a president. So I'm going to bring Amanda back in.
You said
I'm going to bring Amanda back in with Eric, and you asked me what does Trump has as redeeming qualities, and I think zero. But my turn on you was what does Biden have that has redeeming qualities? And
I can answer that question if you'd let me.
All right, so we're going to bring Amanda and Eric back in, and I will let you pose a question. What does Trump have going for him? Let's let Amanda and Eric answer that, and then you can answer that about Biden. Fair enough? Biden-Harris.
No. This is, first of all, Biden's no longer the candidate.
Your question to me was, what does Trump have that's a redeeming quality? And I don't really have an answer. So we're going to let Amanda and Eric back in and let them answer, because I think they're kind of more right-wing than we are.
All right, but
what does Trump have going for him?
No. The question is, what redeemable characteristics does Trump have?
All right, so you're going to have to answer the same thing about Biden-Harris or Harris.
Well, okay. So, what's the redeemable characteristic that Trump had as president?
No, as a person, what redeemable characteristics does he have?
A person.
Oh, as a person, he doesn't drink.
Okay, I'll give you that. That's one.
That's true. He has some business sense.
I would dispute that.
Well, I mean, he's not like on the streets poor, so clearly something's working.
He's not, but his business is kind of.
I mean, I would argue that the majority of his money has been earned through fraudulent means. And the courts agree with me.
The courts would agree.
The courts agree with me.
Yeah.
What about super PACs?
No, one question at a time, Eric. So as a person, yeah, I'm not saying I want to go to lunch with the guy. But it's not about him as a person. It's not a popularity contest. He's not going to be promising.
It's exactly a popularity contest.
No, it is not.
It is, yeah.
It's a job interview.
Okay. So that's what you got. James, what are redeeming qualities about the Biden-Harris campaign? And we can drop
First of all, Biden's not running anymore. So am I answering about Biden or am I answering about Harris?
Talk about Harris. Or we can drop Biden and talk about Harris.
What are the redeeming qualities for Kamala Harris?
As a person or for the job?
As a person, she's intelligent. You can't become an attorney without being intelligent. She seems to have a genuine sense of humor. She seems to respect people around her.
James, on that, genuine sense of humor. Also, I don't think that she's
that's subjective.
But I will buy into your argument that you can't become an attorney general if you're dumb.
You can't become an attorney, period, without being intelligent.
This brings me back to like the high school people we went to high school with, who were like A+ valedictorian students. But the way that I look at them, they're fucking retarded. Like Melanie Derby, Matt Wade, smart people. But the people like one step below them.
You studied 4 hours and got 2 points higher in a test that I studied for 5 minutes for. How smart are you, or are you just hardworking?
Oh, didn't you go to see
exactly my point. So, but either way, so we'll go back to Kamala Harris.
I think that she's genuinely intelligent. I think that she genuinely listens to outside perspectives and uses them to guide her visions.
You feel she feels this way and acts this way based on what?
Well,
because you want to believe that?
Do you think that Trump listens to outside opinions?
I think 100%. I think if an outside,
all right. So.
I think if an outside opinion is like popular for one direction, he's like, yes, that's what I believe. Like he's like, oh, so actually, we're not going to do a debate. We're just going to do a kayaking tour. Yes, I love kayaks.
Okay, so
I feel like Trump's like my favorite thing is kayaks. I am actually the kayaking king. I'm not going to do it this year, but my path is being actually a kayak ambassador for my kayaking club. I never actually kayaked before, but kayaking is my favorite thing.
Okay,
'Cause
so
I
I'll
love-
actually
I love
grant you that
Biden.
one in terms of all right.
Love
So
it.
Trump has no convictions whatsoever. He will just say whatever he thinks he needs to say to be popular in the setting that he is in.
I 100% agree.
Possibly.
So let's go back to Kamala Harris and her. So you said she loves to kayak or something. It's
Can I just
paddleboard,
say
right?
something real
I
quick?
think that she's
paddleboard.
intelligent. I think she's willing to make evidence-based decisions. I think that she's generally kind to the people that are around her. Although there are some questions about her management style, and you can look at the turnover rate in her VP office.
Eric, put down the phone.
You're
But-
too far away.
I don't care.
There you go.
I do want to say
All right,
something.
James is still speaking. So go ahead.
I'll
James.
speak.
Instead of three white guys talking here, all right, I'm giving you to a Latina female. So we have the same projection here for Kamala Harris. So I'm going to give you her opinion.
She's not Spanish.
I know she's not Spanish, but it's a female
Well,
opinion on the topic.
here's I think one of the things that the liberals overlook is that they look at Kamala Harris as an Indian or black or brown or light skin or person
Jewish
of color,
husband.
or a person of color, and they just assume that this person represents their interests and their motives.
I don't.
But well, obviously you're a white Jewish guy. You're a white Jewish guy, James. But the
But I'm
other
liberal.
minority people believe that she has their interests in mind, and that's not necessarily true. And when you hear her speak, so here's the issue: is that we've had a really kind of piss poor turnout. We had Yuri, which is great to have Yuri. We had Amanda and Eric, which is great to have an Amanda and Eric. But well, I would love to have had some transgender people on. I would love to have had some Jewish people on. I would love to have had some Muslim
Get a
people
Jewish
on
person on.
to share
James?
their opinions
We went to
on. Listen to me, to share their opinions on Trump, Biden, and Harris. It's not that cut and dry as you might think it would be. And what I have found is that over the last 6 to 8 years is that I just kind of assume my black and brown friends supported Biden and Obama. And what I found over the last 4 to 6 years, so I'm saying 6 to 8, what I found over the last 4 to 6 years is that most of my black, brown, and Hispanic friends are actually not supporting of the liberal candidates. They're not supporting Biden. They're not supporting Harris. It's not even 50-50 supporting Harris and Biden. It's actually almost 60-40 supporting Trump. And James, guys like you and I who are white, who support Biden, assume that most of the people that see things our way, black, brown, Hispanic, Jewish, etc., liberal, blindly support Harris Biden.
I disagree with that assertion.
What I have found is that actually, I would love to see my Instagram poll, but I did an Instagram poll who supports Biden, who supports Harris, who supports Trump, who's liberal, who's Republican. It was actually a 33% pro-Harris. By the way, bear in mind, most of my friends are liberal New Yorkers. So if my sample size is liberal New Yorkers and 70% of them support Trump, that's a very bad indicator.
It's also a very bad sample. So
Yeah, I also would question your sample size on that one too.
My sample size is liberal New Yorkers.
no, it
Oh,
isn't.
All my friends are
From-
New Yorkers.
Holy problem.
Like from the Bridge and Tunnel group, from Brooklyn, from
No,
the Bronx,
from-
Harlem.
So
Where?
I will make a declaration.
What
now
was
that
the
I've
question that was asked?
Oh,
I will tell you the question that was asked, but I need to lead with the declaration that I'm a white American Christian male. I live in New York City. Actually, I live in Central Jersey. I moved out of Manhattan, but I lived in the Upper West Side for many years. Most of my friends are non-white, non-Christian, non-Catholic, non-middle-aged men. Actually, most of them are early to mid-20s, black or Hispanic men and women. So while my opinion might, the people in my camp might skew Republican, I have always skewed Democratic and liberal.
What was the question you asked?
I didn't pose any question. What I
You
posed
said you
was,
posted a poll on Instagram. What was the exact
so
question?
my question is, what does America think of Kamala Harris? Yes or no?
Okay.
That's a
And
very
right
different
now-
question than do you support Harris?
So what does America think of
Let
Harris?
me ask something.
Yes or no? And I will tell you what it was.
Hold on. I want to hear what Eric has to say.
Go ahead.
All right, Justin, how was your business underneath Trump?
Let's see, 2016 to 2020. Strong. We made millions of dollars.
What happened when you had Biden in office?
Well, we went out of business, merged with another company.
There you go.
When did the business start to go downhill? What year?
Early to mid 2020. Trump.
Who was president then?
Trump.
Okay.
And then it came back end of 2020.
He also lifted a lot of business tariffs in order to do more business with the USA.
Yeah.
That's not true. He imposed a ton of tariffs.
To go downhill? What year?
He loosened up the strings on certain trade agreements with certain people.
And then it came back.
Are you talking about kind of retooling NAFTA?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then Biden undid everything.
So in regards to NAFTA, yes, during the Trump presidency, there were some trade restrictions between U.S., Mexico, and Canada that were lifted, and that certainly helped. But there were a tremendous amount of tariffs placed on Chinese and EU goods that drove up the cost of a number of imported products. So I would say that at best, you can say that his record on trade and tariffs is mixed.
However, let me ask you, Biden raised the tariff on the Chinese recently.
If you're talking about Chinese electric vehicles, then yes. However, we import virtually no Chinese electric vehicles, so that tariff has functionally zero effect because it was.
What was the last Chinese vehicle you ever heard of?
Exactly.
Right. So what I'm saying is, like, you could raise the tariffs on Chinese EV imports from 1% to 10,000%, and it would have zero measurable effect because we weren't importing any before. We're not importing any now.
I'm not sure the percentage.
So I'm going to tell you guys. I'm
going
to tell you my spread right now. I only got 108. I only posted this 3 hours ago. I got 108 answers.
And what's the exact question you asked?
The exact question I asked: does America like Kamala Harris? Yes or no? So I got 108 answers so far. It's been 3 hours.
Whoa! Hold on. The question you are asking
is: does America like Kamala Harris?
Okay, so this is not asking
do you like
people. Yeah,
it's not do you like Kamala Harris? It's does America like?
Okay,
right. So that's a very different question, and you can't say. From the way that you phrase the question, you can't say whether or not people actually like her. You can just say whether people think others like her.
Yeah.
And those are two very different
I got you. So first person, a hippie liberal. No. Next person, a Hispanic female. No. Next person, a gay male. No. Next person, a gay male. Yes.
Okay,
next
so
person,
you're asking what people think America thinks of them.
Next person, a gay
male. Not what they think of them.
No.
Hold on.
Next person, a straight male. Yes. Next person, a gay Jewish male. No.
Oh.
Next person, a
we don't
rich
get to go
white
through every
male.
single response here.
So, but here's my point: is that 60% of these people are saying no.
I got a good one. All right.
And
they're not saying they don't like her. They're saying they're not sure whether America likes her, and that's of very little
the
use.
phrasing on the question is not necessarily the best.
Yeah.
All right, but my thing here is, Justin, the way you're reading the responses, you're just breaking people down demographics by like what they are, but that may or may not reflect how they're going to vote. They don't necessarily like you said before, voting's not necessarily in a block like that. Like all the straight white guys are going to vote for this person. All the
what I'm sharing with you would be surprised that gay white male is not for Harris.
No. Hold on. Wait. Everybody stop. What you are saying is demonstrably wrong, because you're not asking whether this gay white male likes Kamala Harris. You're asking this gay white male whether he thinks other people in this country like her. It's like, if you ask me, do I like Donald Trump? My answer is no. If you ask me, do you think America likes Donald Trump? My answer is a significant portion of the country does. That does not mean that a significant portion of me does. But the fact that you asked the question in the way you did means that the data that you are getting is not answering the question that you were purporting it to answer.
The question's a question. I just asked.
Yeah, the question's a question, but you're drawing conclusions from it that are
Kamala
wrong.
or not? Do you like Kamala or not?
But
No,
yeah, the
you
way
didn't.
you phrase
You did not
it
ask,
will
do you
change
like
the outcome.
Kamala? You asked, do you think others like Kamala? And that's
well,
a
I said,
different
does
question.
America support Kamala? Yes or no? So most people
Oh,
filling
no,
a survey.
right.
Most people filling a survey are.
You're not asking whether they like Kamala directly. Therefore, the answers that you're getting on this are not answering the question you think it is.
Okay, but look, at the end of the day, does it matter if she's purple or an alien? No. It should matter about her record. And the problem is that she wasn't a senator long enough to actually initiate any legislation of her own.
I would like to research that. I don't know whether what you're saying is true or not. Her record as a senator would be interesting to look at. I would say that.
What did she do as a VP?
So
yeah, as a vice president, it's
wait.
also a little spotty, because the only thing she's really got is like immigration czar.
So hold on, wait. I'd like to address this because you guys are bringing up a really good point.
The biggest thing Kamala has going for her is sexual reproduction, women's choice. That's the biggest thing.
Hold on, I want to address Amanda and Eric's
that
point.
She's championed, perhaps, but my point is that physically, on record, on paper, she's never initiated any laws.
Let me address this, because you guys are bringing up a really good point, which is, one, I think the sentiment that you guys are expressing is, we don't really know what Kamala did as VP. I think that's a completely fair question to ask. And I don't know the answer. What I can say is that, like, one of the things she was tasked with was immigration issues. And specifically, she was tasked with addressing conditions in certain countries that we had a high percentage of immigrants coming from, countries like Guatemala, Nicaragua, and El Salvador. And if you look at the percentage of migrants that are coming across the border, and you separate them out by nationality, you can. I would love to find the data, and I will send this to you guys afterwards. You will find that for the countries that she was tasked with targeting for reducing immigration, those immigration levels fell. I can prove this to you.
That's primarily because an agreement was done with Mexico to hold them at the border and send them back from the Mexican border.
Let me see. I would love to find the data for this, you guys. Amanda.
I brought up the
Yes.
All right. So this is coming from Forbes.
Yep.
Okay. So immigration levels from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador have gone down in the years since Harris's assignment began, with data from the U.S. CBP showing encounters with migrants from those three countries have dropped from approximately 700,000 in 2021 to 500,000 in 2023, while encounters with migrants from other countries outside of Harris's purview, such as Colombia, Cuba, Haiti, and Venezuela, have gone up. So the countries that she was tasked with addressing dropped from 700 to 500.
But that could be for a variety of different reasons.
Okay, but like, you can't say that she did nothing on this. You can say maybe we need more data, but the data that I have here is showing that what she was tasked with doing had a meaningful effect.
But not necessarily because she did anything. It could have extra reasons that it went down.
1 year to go down there. 1 year.
Yes, Eric. But all I'm saying is, you don't know what factors, external factors, there could have been contributing to a decrease from those particular countries. Perhaps things got better in those countries politically or economically, or maybe everybody already moved here. You don't know.
She didn't go, so does it matter?
I don't know.
It does.
So I think really
I'm doing
important
more
right
research
now.
on
We
this.
need
I'm
to
looking at a
discuss
Time
the-
magazine article
We're 90
now.
minutes in, and it's really unfair for our avid podcast
Not the-
episode subscribers.
There's no one who produces two-way knowledge.
So my mom. So mom, what I want to tell you is that Clara Clatter was born in December the 27th. Yet her birthday is always in the summer. How is that possible? So Clara Clatter was born December 27th, yet her birthday is always in the summer. How is that possible? We're going to mute Amanda in the post-production.
Amanda.
So, I appreciate your position on that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wind down the podcast. So
I want to just make one last point to Amanda.
Hold on. So, James, I'll give you your 10, 15 seconds to give your final wind down on Amanda. But we're also going to do the final wind down on this episode's podcast. And if you guys have gotten this far into the podcast, so we're like 90 minutes in. That's wild, by the way. You guys, you got nothing better to do than fucking listen to us. I'm all for it, by the way. It's cool. I love you participating and listening into the podcast. However, next time you need to message us during the live podcast, we'd love to hear your input because, James and I love hanging out with each other. We're best friends. We grew up together. Eric, Amanda, we're all best friends. It's cool to hang out together. However, you're here. So if you're listening to the podcast, let us know you're here. Comment, throw your name in the bid. We'd love to have your input. Don't forget to visit SipTalkPodcast.com. You can buy us a drink, by the way. We got shots available. We got beers available. We got a bar tab. If you're feeling extra generous, we got a whole and we like to drink a lot. We got a whole bar tab available. You buy us out for $275, $275. You can buy James and I out for the evening.
You should get
give me liver poisoning.
No, James is very strong. He's got a strong. He likes to ride his bicycle. He sweats a lot. James, you're not gonna throw us game by buying him a bottle. Or
I once gave myself kidney stones by going for a 40-mile bike ride after a night of hard drinking.
On that note, I'd love to.
Ouch.
Amanda, I want to.
On that note, have a good night. We're gonna get into our conversation off air. That'll be available on Rumble.
That's fine.
And we'll see you guys next week. Thank you for joining us.
All right, that concludes this episode. If you made it this far, you realize we drank quite a bit. So let me know if you agree with any of us or all of us in the comments. Thank you for making it this far. Do not forget to visit SipTalkPodcast.com. Buy us a drink because we need some refills after this episode.